Okay, we're live for another episode. You know, we were gonna record yesterday, but this is gonna be a Friday episode, so we were just gonna have to deal with it. But the good thing is we waited, and we were able to. We got the Nintendo Direct, the Overwatch League. So for January 12th, your Friday episode for this week of Salient Points, number 17. I'm Carlos Macias, your host, along with my co-host
Dalan Kirkwood. Good to see you all. By the way, I should mention the fact that we're also going to be changing our days temporarily for personal purposes. We're going to be going to once a week instead of twice a week.
For unknown reasons, we're going to once a week starting next week. Maybe we'll go back to the twice a week. I know you're going to miss it a little bit, right, Dalan? You were like, wait,
No,
why can't we do it? I was like, all right. So we'll see. We're going to go to once a week, maybe a little longer episode. Maybe do away with the honorable mentions if we have enough hot topics. Like, for example, today's episode, we have some pretty big stuff to talk about. We're going to be talking about the Nintendo Direct Mini that dropped earlier today or yesterday, if you're listening on Friday. The Overwatch League, some of the rules and that kind of thing. Why is it a big deal? And also the Bungie update about Destiny 2 and what they're going to do with the game going forward. But we'll start off with the big one, Dalan, the Nintendo Direct Mini. And I know the internet was blowing up was it Wednesday? The internet was blowing up because they were like, is there going to be a Nintendo Direct? It's rumored. It's, the internet was going wild, and Nintendo finally gave us what we wanted, right? So, and apparently we really wanted it, man. Last I checked, it was like 1.7 million people had seen the Nintendo Mini Direct. It's not even a live thing. All they do is click publish or click go live, and it's just a pre-recorded video, right? Of like just kind of hit after hit of things. So, it's just going to be a little order, how out of order how we do it. But because we're going to start off with the big thing, or the big thing for most people is the Dark Souls Remastered that was revealed is going to come out on the Switch. It's going to include the Artorias of the Abyss DLC, and it's going to be 1080p along with 30 frames per second when docked. So you got to have it docked in order for you to get that. And the key thing to this is it's also releasing on Xbox One, PS4, and PC the same day. So, Sony and Microsoft are kind of like, let's get in the mix. I know Nintendo is kind of building this up quite a bit. So those are coming out, and apparently they're all priced at $40. So are you excited, Dalan? Did you have the original, or will this be the first time you play it, say, once eventually you get your Switch? Or
honestly, the one that I actually played was Demon Souls, and then when Dark Souls came out, I didn't actually care as much because I'd already played Demon Souls. So I was like, man, I already did this, but I heard that they changed a lot of mechanics for it, so then I went and tried it, and I got destroyed, of course, because it's Dark Souls. But after I played Dark Souls for a little while, I ended up stopping. Then the next time I really got back into the series was Bloodborne. Okay. So I kind of skipped that.
Okay, Dalan, your history though. What are you excited about Dark Souls on the Switch and or Xbox One, PS4?
Well, I was just about to mention specifically. I'm not as excited as other people, but I am interested to see how well it performs on these systems.
Yeah, I mean, and I think for a lot of people, I don't know, people get really excited about the Switch. They want everything on the Switch. And for me, I do like things on the Switch, but it's mostly like multiplayer, split screen games or games that you can play, like a Rocket League where you can play two of you on the Switch and you go online with it. So otherwise, I'd rather just get my trophies, man. So I never got into Dark Souls, but I can see how it's a big deal to people, and the fact that it's going to be, I guess, at an improved frame rate and resolution, which I'm interested to see because it's going to be improved over, maybe on PS3, but then we have these PS4 and Xbox One versions where the Switch isn't going to compare to those, man. They're going to be so much nicer on those, and I like how Sony, on several of these announcements, Sony came out and they were like, this is coming out on PS4 too, man. They didn't miss out on it. So on the Twitter nation, they were out and about. Anything else, Dan, before we move on to their next announcement?
For Dark Souls, no. I know it's a beautiful game. Enjoy it.
Yeah, and I mean, if it's, I was seeing, I think the pre-orders went up at $60, but I was seeing that it's $40. I don't see why they would make it a full price game, but we'll see. Yeah, we'll see, and it's cool to see that.
Wait. Why would you not see it because to be a full price game? It's a full game. I think they're also including all the DLC that actually came with it at the same time.
Yeah, but I mean, there's been there's already been a Dark Souls 2, right? And then Bloodborne is kind of seen as the spiritual successor. You could say maybe it's the third game in that lineage of type of game. So for them to charge $60 for a game that came out so long ago, I mean, Dark Souls is what, 07, 08 or something like that. So for them, that's the one that's coming out.
I thought it was $40.
Well, that's what I'm saying. The pre-orders, some of the pre-orders I've been seeing online is that it's $60. So sometimes,
but it's probably going to come with a bunch of extra content that you can actually have.
Well, no, what I'm saying, well, sometimes what it is this just placeholder. So it might be a placeholder. Let's hope that's what it is, and ultimately it's $40. But I know on PS4 and maybe I think on Xbox One they're making a trilogy edition. So like I said, it's got to be Dark Souls 2, and then what? Well, Demon Souls I guess would count, right? Demon Souls would count.
Demon Souls is not part of the trilogy. It's Dark Souls.
Whatever it is. Well, whatever it is, they're making a trilogy. Whatever they're doing. Well, there's not a Dark Souls 3, right? There's Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 1.
No, there is a Dark Souls 3. There is a Dark Souls 3. It's out already?
Okay. All right. Yeah, so the trilogy, that one's the one that's ridiculously priced. That one's like $120 or $140 or something. So if you want that, that's available. The next thing announced was The World Ends With You, final remix, which let me get my DS copy back, Dalan, at some point.
Maybe. I got to try it now. Just to see what it's like beforehand.
So the cool thing about this one is that they're going to be adding an epilogue. So there's going to be, and I like on the video in the Nintendo Direct, they were like a substantial, or they said something like, something to let you know that it's not just half an hour of content. So we'll see how that goes. It looks like you'll be able to do touch controls, which I know the Switch kind of doesn't encourage as much. I don't know why. That it's perfectly good as a touch screen, type of device. So they're going to allow you to do that. And they said there's like an innovative or some kind of nonsense where you use the analogs. Like, well, that game was kind of meant to be played with touch since it came out on the DS originally. But that's coming out later this year. Are you excited about that? Or are you going to keep my copy of it for a little longer just to see how
I'm going to keep your copy for a little bit longer. I'm going to try it out just to get a little into the game to see what the battle system was like. And then I'll give it back so you can enjoy that at that point.
Well, you know what? To be honest, I'll probably wait till the Switch version, man. Because at this point,
you won't touch it.
Because when they talk about the epilogue or whatever, it's like, look, if I beat it on DS, what if I have to beat it again to get to the epilogue on the Switch? And I'm like, yeah, I'm not down. I don't think I'm down for all that.
And you're wondering what my problem is with Final Fantasy 12. Thanks.
Well, no, I don't have a problem. See, your problem was like you didn't want it to exist. This is not a problem at all. For Final Fantasy 12, your problem was like, why does it exist? Like, Dalan, let people vote with their dollar. If they don't want it, they don't want it, and they don't buy it. But apparently people wanted it. They wanted it so much that I think it sold like 1 million copies. That was a big deal for Square Enix. And plus, you have a copy of it yourself, Dalan. So
thanks to
even you wanted it somehow, subconsciously maybe. So yeah, that's The World Ends With You. Anything else as far as that, or? I mean, I'll look forward to it.
I will say I saw a bump in graphics when I was watching the video.
It looked a little cleaner, yeah.
So it looked a little cleaner, smoother, and I know they're going to be able to create it so that when you try to dock it for your TV, it's going to look correct instead of like pixelated when you blow it up to 10.
Well, yeah, it will, but then you lose the touch control. So I think that's definitely going to be one of those games where it's up to you if you like the touch controls enough. But it's on a bigger screen. It looks much cleaner, and at least you're not going to see the scratches on the DS screen, that you would see if you were playing it on the original version. So,
but that's probably why they're going to be implementing the joystick controls for it. Is because people might.
Which looks kind of terrible. If you look in the video, man, it looks like the buttons all over the place. And it's like, well, if it's touch, it's fine. But if you're seeing that all over your screen, so we'll see how they do with that. I'll check it out. I'll probably figure it out. The next thing, real quick one, Pokken Tournament gets Pokken Tournament DX, which came out on the Switch. It's getting a couple battle packs. One is out in January 31st, and then the other one March 23rd. So it's going to be 2 different battle packs, going to add Pokemon and I guess some assist Pokemon in there too. Have you ever gotten into these series? So this is coming from like Pokemon Stadium, where when I played it, I loved it because it was a way to play Pokemon Yellow, and you would max it out to like max, what is it, ×4, ×2 or ×4 speed. So I was like zipping around the whole levels really quickly. But that's basically my extent of the series. It goes back to Pokemon Stadium 1 on the N64. But have you had any interest in this series lately?
Honestly, for the Pokken Tournament game, I did have the interest in playing it because it's a Pokemon fighting game, like an actual fighting game. Mm-hmm. But I never got around to playing it. Just never got around to playing it. I don't even know anybody that actually owns the game. So I see videos of it every so often, but it's like people talk about it outright so little that I
well, yeah, because it's really what. It's really the actualization of what you play on the DS game, right? You get the whole big old scene of it. So I think you can actually, as far as I understand it, you can bring in your characters from the DS game, 3DS game, and you see your characters blown up in the 3D space, right? That was kind of the appeal. Characters. No, I think all of them, because it's just it's not like a Street Fighter where you have 12 characters and you're fighting. No, these are game characters that you're bringing in from your game. As far as I understand, is that not the?
No, that
is it not like Pokemon Stadium? No, that's terrible, man. If that's the case, I've been avoiding it. And I really will avoid it then, because I'll avoid it now, because on the Pokemon Stadium games, that's what you did. You brought in all your characters and you're finally seeing them blown up in 3D.
But you don't get that super interactive fighting for the Pokemon Stadium. But for Pokemon Tournament, you literally get to control whatever Pokemon that it is, and you're fighting whoever it is. You can go over there and juggle them, whatever it might be, got specials and stuff like that.
We'll have to look into it and see.
No, it is a fighting game. I can tell you that.
Well, it was just like the original one, but the Pokemon Stadium. But Pokemon Stadium was you pick your
it was not like Pokemon Stadium. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
What I'm saying in Pokemon Stadium, that's what it was. You're basically just playing it in 3D, whatever you would be playing on the Game Boy. I actually got to look into this and see what it is. It's some nonsense, because they're talking about adding characters now. I think I might see your point of view of it, because they're talking about adding characters. Like, wait, you're just bringing them in from other games. So we'll see. But anyway, so if you guys are interested, those battle packs are coming in 2 waves. The next thing is Kirby Star Allies, which is coming out for Switch. Before, I think it was just called Kirby. But now they give it a full title, Kirby Star Allies. That's out March 16 on the Switch. Now, the cool thing about it is that it has 4-player co-op. But I don't know if you're like me, Dalan, but any of these Kirby games or Yoshi games, these are falling asleep games to me, man. Like, they're so like sleepy and easy that, I just fall asleep to them. But this one has 4-player co-op. I'll give it a shot, man. You come over, we'll play some Kirby Star Allies. But do you have any interest in Kirby or?
Well, really? For Kirby, in all cases, it's always been like the same type of gameplay for me. Though they actually bumped up their game when they actually started making it for the 3DS, because I know they had a few 4-player co-op games that you could do, but the 4-player co-op was really weird.
What's the last one you played? Well, we played Kirby co-op or multiplayer recently, didn't we? Did you try that out with me on the 3DS?
No, me and you, we did not play that Kirby co-op thing. We played.
What's the last Kirby game? How about this? What's the last Kirby game you've gotten down?
We were playing that Kirby golf game from Super Nintendo.
Oh yeah, but how about as far as you're talking about the Super Nintendo version, right? The golf type Kirby game.
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called right now.
What's the last recent game that you played of Kirby?
The last recent game that I played was the one with the robots. But it was like Kirby Robot.
Yeah, it's a Robotron or something, some nonsense.
Yeah, I can't remember what it's called. But I played that, and I was trying to do the multiplayer with my friend Genicel. And he was the one that I was playing it with. And you can't really do the main story co-op. You get small missions on the side where you do co-op there. And
that's terrible. Anytime they do that kind of thing is terrible. The little side missions make the whole thing co-op.
Yeah, it was like 5 or 7 stages of doing co-op missions of trying to kill these bosses. And that by itself was fun because you could level up your Kirby. You had like 3 or 4 different roles. Like you have a mage, knight, and stuff like that. And they had special powers. But once you get past that, the co-op is done. That was it.
Yeah. So we'll see how they do with this one. But I think this one, as far as I understand it, it should be like full played through the whole game and call, but maybe they'll surprise us and be like, this is terrible. What do you mean only get to a few levels of this? The other thing, real quick, Dragon Quest Builders demo is out today, and we heard from a friend, Dalan, that you'd be very highly interested in this Dragon Quest Builders game. Have you played it before? Or no? Have you?
No, I don't know. Why would I be interested in it though? I don't understand.
Well, it's sort of a crafting game, but basically, I tried a little bit, and I downloaded the demo, and I tried a little bit of it. The story is really cute. It's very like Dragon Quest-esque, with the cutesy dialogue and all that kind of Englishy type of situation. But then it got to the crafting or time about here's your craft table, and I was like, I'm gonna walk away with this. I'm gonna put this Switch to sleep, and I will not deal with this anymore. But that's out. That's out in case you guys are interested. Dragon Quest Builders on the Switch. The demo is, anyways. The game should be out soon, I would think. Next thing, Hyrule Warriors, the definitive edition. Actually, I should probably say the definitive edition, Dan, like definitive edition. That's out on March 22nd in Japan. And as far as the US, they didn't give a precise date. They just said it'll be out in spring. You know what? I played it. I can move past Hyrule Warriors, but I don't know. Are you gonna grab it, Dalan, once you get your Switch? You're gonna get some Hyrule Warriors action?
This is basically Dynasty Warriors. I played 99 Nights, Hyrule Warriors, the Fire Emblem Warriors. They're all the same to me.
They're keeping the ports coming, man. But the important one is what is it? Smash Brothers. Smash Brothers on the Switch. That's what we're really waiting for, right? None of these other nonsense.
That's what you're holding your breath for. We'll see.
Yeah. One that's not a port, actually, Mario Tennis Aces. That's out in spring 2018. And the cool thing about this one is, besides that, it's a tennis game, man. Any action type of sports game, you know, like tennis or soccer, where it's an action kind of oriented game already. Oh, they always translate so well to video games. And Mario Tennis has always been that for me. But the cool thing about this one is that they're actually adding a story mode. And it's the first time that a Mario Tennis game has had a story mode since Mario Tennis on the GBA. So it's been a good while. In the Nintendo Direct, you kind of get a sense of how you play it. It looks like you're sort of on a board, you know, kind of Mario Party-esque. But, you know, I'm willing to try it. You know, I'm down. That'll actually get me to be interested in it because, you know, if I don't have anybody to play with, at least I could do the story mode in it. Do you have any interest? Are you a fan of the Mario Tennis games?
I'm normally a fan of Mario Tennis when I'm playing with somebody, because other than that, it's just tennis.
That's a multiplayer game.
It's a sports game, yeah.
Well, but it's like very action-y. It's more like, say, it's not a simulation, right? Like virtual tennis is, even that's not the biggest simulation type game for tennis, but it's a little more simulation-esque than Mario Tennis, where Mario Tennis is more fantastical, right? And you're doing like really big slams, and I think you even get power-ups, so you can mess up you can Mario Kart the other player, basically.
You do a special
blue shell them,
backhand the heck out of that ball, and
you can blue shell them, basically. You have that type of power. The other thing is Eve's 8, which is I had the subtitle in another copy of this, but Ease 8, which was already out on the Vita and the PS4, that's coming out on the Switch and during the summer. They didn't have an exact date for that, but are you a fan of the Ease games? To me, it's like, I'm not gonna wait for the Switch version. I'm just like, if I really want to play it, I'm gonna go back and get some trophies on the Vita. So, but
actually, I am actually a fan of the East games, because I played East Arc of Nepotism, and I played through that entire game. That one enthralled me way too much, so I went back. I played some of the other ones, still excellent. Went forward, played some of the newer ones, still excellent. I don't care which direction you go, East is always excellent. Then I saw this one, I was like, wow, they actually made full human-sized models, and they really revamped some of the battle system. And now you get to play with 2 characters.
Hey, as far as I understand, it's advanced too, at the point where you're actually attacking, or you're spearing, or you're doing different things. Because the very original games, they were like, you kind of bump up against enemies, right? That's how you attack or something.
No.
The very original Ease, Dalan. Talking about Ease 1, 2.
I know what you're asking me. I played those games. You still had to hit the button to attack. It's just the graphics were a lot lower back then. I mean, it was
so what will you do with this re-release? Will you grab it on Switch, or are you gonna dig it up on the Vita or the PS4? Because it's already out, and we got it. I guess they want you to wait 9 months to get it on the Switch, but it's already out. Just so people.
Well, it would be a good excuse for me to pick it up on Switch, but with me currently not having the Switch, I'll probably end up just picking it up on the PS4. I mean, I already bought a Switch game, not having a Switch, so I think I'll wait for the Switch before I decide on any other.
You need to grab a Switch, Dalan. I wonder how many episodes, how many salient points we can go through until you finally buy a Switch. We'll count it down.
At this point, possibly 2 more. We mentioned it last.
What's your over/under, Dalan? How many episodes till you grab your Switch? How many more episodes? 2. All right. We'll see. Well, we're going to a weekly, once a week schedule. So yeah, you got quite a bit of time. The next one, kind of a big deal, I guess. It's if you beat Super Mario Odyssey, got all the moons, which is there's a grip of moves, and so I don't know, man. I'm like on the last level. I'm still trying to beat it. Not because it's a long game, actually. It's not a very long game. It's just I haven't had the time, or I haven't dedicated the time for it. But so Super Mario Odyssey is going to get an update in February. It's going to include Luigi's Balloon World mini game, new snapshot filters, new outfits. That drops in February. So one of the requirements is that you do beat the game. But it's a free update, and it's Luigi's Balloon World, which is sort of an online type of game where you can hide balloons and you can search for balloons. It looks kind of, I mean, I'll try it a couple times and then I'll be done, I'm sure. But, if you want to keep jumping around in the worlds in Mario and you already beat it, then, it'll give you an excuse to jump back in. Did you see it in the video? Does that look interesting, the Luigi's Balloon World? Did you get a chance to look at it? Good job, Dan.
I saw it. I was like, nope, don't care about it.
Not interested, but you did see it, right? So you're placing balloons at different places. And the thing is, Mario Odyssey, it's like a cool game. You do get a lot of different worlds, but the worlds aren't the biggest sections in the world, so in the world, good
job with your wording.
So we'll, I'll try it for a couple times, and it's cool. It gives you a little extra to do, and it should be free, rightfully so, based on what I saw from it. It should be free. But that Dark Souls looking outfit looks kind of cool, man. Did you see that?
The Dark Souls outfit? Oh yeah.
For Mario, that looks kind of cool actually, and it just it's the perfect sort of announcement before they announced Dark Souls,
Enjoy your Dark Mario.
I'm gonna grab that, man. That suit, it's mine. That's probably why I'll jump back in, grab that, and that's how I'll be running around. Besides the poncho, the little Paisa Mario that I call him, that's probably gonna be my second favorite. That little Dark Souls type looking thing. So next,
you off on, just because I want to announce it, is Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze.
Oh, good job,
I'm excited for that one. That's one that I do want to play. That one coming out, that's coming out, I guess, May 4th for the Switch with their new Funky mode. That's very exciting because they got Funky Kong. He's going to be a playable character. He joins the fray. And for that,
I appreciate that you like Donkey Kong this much. That you're like, I'm gonna announce it. This is something that I'm gonna do. I appreciate that. I like that kind of emotion.
I enjoy some Donkey Kong Country, and I know that for the original Donkey Kong Country games, Funky Kong was really just a backwards character that he would actually let you jump in his airplane and transport you to the players. But now he's an actual playable character.
Now the problem, it's a re-release of Tropical Freeze that came out on the Wii U, and I believe it was on the 3DS. It could have been that one or the one before this one that came out on the 3DS, but one of them came out on the 3DS too. And this one's coming out on May 4th. You said it already, right? I think, hopefully.
Yeah, I did.
So May 4th. Now, the problem with this that I see, I don't know if you saw in the video, so Funky Kong wasn't in the original Tropical Freeze, which Tropical Freeze developed by Retro Studios. I don't know why they're not working on Metroid Prime, because that is their series. But whatever. That's besides the point. I just wanted to throw that in there. They made Metroid Prime. They made Metroid Prime. Stop having them work on Donkey Kong. Stop. Anyways, besides the point, Funky Kong. So if you saw, Funky Kong seems like it's just an easy mode. Did you see that? Funky Kong
land on spikes and not die. You just hop on everything.
Man, he can land on spikes. So it's basically an easy mode. I thought it could have been a little cooler than that. But he can land on spikes, which is, come on, man. It's just easier. And I think he gives you sort of a second shot to kind of get hit if you're in the air or whatever. But one of the cool things is you can actually go underground or underwater now, right? I think he actually can dive underwater and swim around a bit more.
Level, in the middle of the level, they had the underwater part, which was cool. It's not like a whole underwater level. There's just sections where you're actually in a pool of water.
You know what? You should we gotta play that, man. I never beat Tropical Freeze. I have it on the Wii U, man. You gotta come by. We'll do it in co-op. It's a hard game. It's a hard game. All right, what we got next? So
on your roster, then invite me over. How about that?
Yeah, sure. We'll get that. We'll figure that out. We'll figure that out at some point. So the next thing, and I did appreciate the emotion on that, Dalan, but you got to be careful because if you too much emotion, you'll go into the dark side, and you just went in there and you won't even resist. All right, you need to resist. Next in our list, we got SNK announced SNK Heroines Tag Team Frenzy. That's coming out in the summer. It's gonna have 14 playable characters. These characters that I have no idea who they are, but you're gonna inform me on them, please, Dalan. Athena Asamiya, Kula Diamond, Leona Haydern, Mei Shiranui, and Yuri Sakasaki are the characters that you can see in the trailer. Are you excited about this, Dan? It looks like it's one of the things that I noticed is going to have a one button function to it, and it's going to have a move called Dream Team or something like that. which the one button function I'm sure you're gonna appreciate, especially you being a fan of Capcom versus SNK EO, right? Easy operation.
You know how much I hate that easy operation button. So thanks for bringing that up. I appreciate that.
It's making a comeback.
I also appreciate the fact that you have no idea how to pronounce any of these characters' names, especially
That's fine. I'm okay with this.
I don't know what you were saying.
Anyways, tell me about these characters. Like so far, because they haven't announced the full roster. The 4 that they are gonna have in there, is it make it exciting enough for you to be interested in it at least?
Well, it's very glittery and shiny, and basically easy mode, as you were partially saying. And I've been a huge fan of the King of Fighters game, all that other stuff. But then when I hit this game, I'm like, man, they Persona 4'd the heck out of this, and just doing a one-button combo, and it looks like they're trying to pander.
It should be an option, though, right? It should be an option. I doubt they're gonna go full. This is the only way you can play it, right? Because Capcom versus SNK, that was an option, right? That you could easy operation it. It wasn't like this is the only way to play it, right?
No? Actually, it's the C stick. They have the easy operation for the C stick, the little yellow stick. And yes, you could turn it off, but people rarely turn that thing off. And it was very frustrating because back in the day, you would have your fighting games where you just had to learn the moves and combos. And that you don't really have that as much nowadays. You got Tekken X Street Fighter where they give you an easy combo that you can just get through by pressing one button. You got Marvel.
This is a there's a continuation of that kind of school of thinking. But yeah, it's like you were saying, it's very glittery, it's very girly, it's accessible. It's an accessible fighting game. And I think maybe SNK is kind of pushing it, right? It's like maybe there's an audience for this. Maybe it's not for the hardcore fighter, but maybe there's an audience for this accessible.
Just from the way that it looks like it is to bring in the another wave of female fighting game players, because there are female game fighters out there, but there's not too many of them, and they like to complain about how there are less girls in the fighting game community when it's just the girl's choice to not do it. It's probably because they believe that it's too hard. I think
it's also it's a reality. I think it's also a reality of kind of the gaming industry, or the whenever they do the polls or who's the audience, it's for the most part it's male, and the thing is with those kind of polls, or when they try to figure out how many males and females, I think it actually goes down the middle, maybe even a little more female when you consider all these mobile games, because sometimes people that play mobile games, they don't consider themselves gamers, right? So we all use phones, and half the population is women. So, half of the gamers, they might be playing Bejeweled or whatever it is. So if you consider that a gamer, then it's split down the middle. But as far as consoles and all these different portables, dedicated handhelds, I would think it skews more towards male players. But I'm interested to see, man. Maybe this is a big success for them. And they're like, look, this is kind of towards a female audience. It's a little more accessible of a fighting game. It was very successful. And it's like, all right, maybe there's more to it than we know. They just have to provide these games, and people will be there. If you build it, they will come, right?
You have to tap into it.
So we'll see what happens. I wish them well. I saw some of it. Like you said, it didn't look too interesting to me, but hopefully I'm not the demographic, and there's a big enough demographic where it encourages them to kind of keep going down this route.
I will give it one major plus, though, the tag system, because that's the one thing that I'd love to have in the other SNK games, where you have 3-on-3 and you can't tag out. You have to wait for your character to die, which by itself is awesome. You have to choose your order, wait for them to die, and then you have your next character come in and they take the place.
So we could try it out. Dan. Let's see what you think of it. We'll give it a shot.
Sure, I'll rock you across the stage, but you know what?
well, it'll go down like that. I'm sure it will. Okay, the next thing, Donkey Kong is going to show up in Mario vs. Rabbids, or Mario and Rabbids DLC. That's in the DLC pack in spring. Which just a quick little update. I'm kind of glad to see that they keep updating the game. I know they had a versus mode recently that they dropped about a month. I think it was in December that they dropped the versus mode, which is kind of cool. So they keep updating this game, and Donkey Kong's going to be in it. The next thing, they did drop a new Payday 2 trailer. The game is supposed to release February 22nd. And one of the cool things that I saw from it is that they're actually going to do an exclusive skin where it's kind of face mask that you put on, and it's like a digital face mask where it's constantly changing, and it's gonna be a timed exclusive on the Switch, and before it comes to other consoles. Are we gonna do some Payday 2, Dalan, when that's out on the Switch? It's already out on PS4.
Well, I was gonna get it on PS4, and I was gonna pick it up, but nobody else said that they were gonna get it. So I was like, well, if I get it, other people better get it, or I'm not getting it. So.
All right, good job. So we'll figure that out. But you know what? It's kind of one of those things like, yeah, I know everybody wants everything on the Switch. To me, it's like if I really wanted it, I could have already got it on the PS4. But if you're for whatever reason,
I think I'm more excited for that Overkill game that was announced. The Overkill.
Overkill. Yeah. There's other cool games, and look, we play everything, right? So we play on the PS4, and there's things for the Switch that fit on the Switch. Other than that, Kirby Battle Royale, that was a new demo that dropped on the 3DS. If you want to try that out, and also, well, the last thing that I saw on the Nintendo Direct Mini was Celeste. That's out on January 25th. Now, at first, I didn't know what it was. I didn't really know what it was, but then I saw that it's actually a single-player platformer from the Towerfall guys. So do you remember Towerfall, how much we love that game, right, Dalan? And it has the same look, but now it looks like maybe it's a little more Metroidvania-ish, where you're actually climbing a mountain. Fast-paced. But it's a single player this time around. So that's kind of always what I would have wanted out of Towerfall. It was a fun multiplayer game, but I always kind of felt like, oh man, if this was a single player. So now we get that. Now we get a single player sort of version of that in that style. It looks like it takes some of the things from multiplayer. Like, I don't know if you remember, but there was those sort of wells, or I don't know what you would call it, those spaces in the air in Towerfall where you kind of would shoot an arrow through it. And it was kind of like a square, area where you would jump through it, and it would kind of affect the physics of the game. So I saw some of that in that game. I saw a lot of climbing. I saw a lot of dodging. I saw a lot of basically Towerfall, the single player game, is what I saw, and I'm pretty excited about it.
With an actual adventure mode. This Towerfall Adventure. Yeah. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Man,
so that was pretty.
Towerfall stuck in an arena. I don't want to be stuck in a box anymore. Though Towerfall was very exciting.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. So that's it for the Nintendo.
Actually, the one game you didn't actually mention in there was Faye. Or
okay, Faye, yeah.
That it was a nice little adventure game where they were roaming around. It's very, I can't say black and white, but it looked very interesting for the art form that they were doing. So I'm actually more interested in that game than I am Celeste, though I am interested in Celeste. But that Faye one, I was like, man, that looks like a brand new spanking game, because they're supposed to be coming out around the same time, right?
I think Faye is out next month, I believe. I think it's out in February. So they're both out soon, man. And you know what? This Nintendo Direct came out at perfect time, man. We were kind of wondering, well, what is Nintendo going to do for 2018? And it looks like they're making a bunch of ports. But there's a couple of cool little new games, quote unquote new games. If Mario Tennis, and there's a couple cool games in there that is like, all right, for at least for the first half of 2018, Nintendo's plans on keeping us busy. Whether it's with ports or otherwise, they're going to have plenty for us to play.
All right,
but yeah, we can move on, Dalan. What do you got for us?
Taking up all our time. But another major one that I found to actually be major is all of the Destiny announcements that actually just came up on the Destiny 2 page. I mean, there were a lot of updates, so I'm going to actually briefly go through most of them, then we can discuss it a little bit. So starting off, one of the bigger announcements, because Destiny had the problem with accidentally alienating their players. They wanted to actually have a huge fix of that. So they wanted to make it clear which categories of content are available to everyone each season and which ones are exclusive to the Destiny 2 expansions. Where the expansions are purchasable updates that are typically new story modes, destinations that you can go to, like planets, gear, Crucible, and strikes and raid lair. Where for the seasons, which is not exactly the expansion, but as time goes on, they would introduce new content for all players with no additional cost that you don't have to actually purchase in any type of updates. So you get things like the Iron Banner, faction rallies, strikes, and Trials of 9, which as of next week and actually throughout this month, and I know going forward, of course, but this month, their servers are going to be down as of next Tuesday on the 16th from 9 a.m. until for about 3 hours until about 12 p.m. That's Pacific Standard Time, of course, to actually do a bunch of updates. Where as of January 16th, the faction rallies are coming back. The Crimson Days, which is something that we had in the old Destiny, they're bringing that back on the 13th. Iron Banner is going to come back into rotation as of the 30th of this month. That was actually a big term that they used there for me, being that before they would do Iron Banner every so often, and then they just stopped doing it.
Well, no, it was
back to rotation.
Well, for Destiny 1, it was at the end of the month or once a month. That's what it was. So back in the rotation means.
But then
back in the rotation. Yeah, back in rotation means that for Destiny 2, you're like, well, when is Iron Banner back? It's kind of. But for Destiny 1, for Destiny 1, we had it. Just like trials, we had it every week. Every weekend there was trials, and then once a month it was Iron Banner. But
didn't they have an Iron Banner earlier in Destiny 2 though? Like during the
there was, but it's like you said, it hadn't been established that every month we're gonna have it. I think we might have had it once or twice, and it wasn't like expect to see it every month.
Well, that's what I meant, is that now it's back in rotation. I guess it's gonna be on a regular basis starting on the 30th. So with Crimson Days coming out though, you can actually get Crimson Days gear, like a legendary emote, weapon skin, and exotic sparrow, just for completing the milestones for the Crimson Days story. And you can actually get double Ingrams when you level up. So you get a Crimson Ingram and an Illuminated Ingram. I'm not 100% sure what an Illuminated Ingram is. I know I've gotten one, but I didn't really pay too much attention to it. I was just like, oh, another Ingram, which in itself is awesome. But they actually did make it so that each Crimson Ingram is very strongly weighed in new rewards when decrypted until all the items have been obtained. So they wanted to make it easier for people to actually get all the Crimson items as you can, especially if you're actually playing during the Crimson Days. So my question is, when they actually do the Crimson Days, I suddenly can't remember what it's called, but when you have the 2-on-2 matches for the PvP, I was wondering if they're actually going to do matchmaking for that, because I know not everybody has multiple friends, as I recently found out while I was playing the game. So I'm hoping that they'll actually
Did they do it for Destiny 1? I don't know if they was there. Or you had to go in with two, right? Yeah, you and your friend had to do it. Yeah, well, it really is. They call it Crimson Days, but it's the Valentine's Day. It's a Valentine's Day.
Have a partner.
Where you're playing doubles, right? Where you're basically doing doubles or whatever. But they're bringing that back. What else was in? What else did they announce, Dalan?
Another thing that they announced was they had 3 more things. Don't worry. The January 30th, they have an update. They're going to be reworking the Masterworks system. So that you can pay cores and legendary shards to turn your legendary equipment, your regular legendary equipment, into Masterworks and reroll those stats. And on top of that, they're going to be adding Masterworks armor, because so far we've only seen Masterworks weapons. So that's a huge update for the Masterworks. For the Crucible, it's actually going to be happening in spring. I know it's a little ways down, but it was very huge to me, is that they're going to be adding a rank system. They're going to have the Valor system, which is based on how many victories you have, not losses, just victories, so you won't be going down in that. And Glory, which is based on your performance in battles. And then on top of that, just for you, Carlos, they're bringing back private matches and 6 versus 6.
Okay. So 6 versus 6, not in matchmaking, but in private.
Right, in actual gameplay. They're going to be adding it later this week.
So basically, it's private. Like, do whatever you want. That's what private
just select.
Right?
Yeah, basically.
We've kind of turned into the system where everything is 4v4 across the map or whatever. But now it's like, if you want 6v6, that's up to you. You can go ahead.
No. You misheard me. Is that you have your private matches, so you can select any type of mode that you want. But then they're also going to be adding 6v6.
Oh, okay. No, I thought, because I thought you had said that it was only for private. Yeah, so we're getting 6v6 matchmaking back. So
then we're getting that back sometime in spring. So that I figured you'd appreciate that, because when 6v6 went away, I immediately missed it. So I mean, we had full teams of people that we want to go play with. They're like, "Hey, let's go do Crucible," and then we have 5 people in our team. We're like, "We can't. Somebody's got to go."
It made it easier to be able to come off the raid and still continue playing, right, with this group. Now you kind of have to kick people off. It's already like a 3-person group basically for most activities, and then you got a 4th, and then for raid you got 6. So it's kind of like it limits you, right, to how many people you can play with if they're making it 4v4 or whatever it is. But what else?
That limit. So I'm happy that they're increasing the limit. And another thing that I've mainly had a gripe about, and I think you talked about it a few times, being the raid rewards. That's actually going to be updated later this month, or at least the end of this month, I believe.
No more lottery system. No more pulling the casino lever. It's we're getting the drop, right? We're getting the drop, or did they?
We are getting drops. We're gonna have mods with raid specific perks. The raid vendor will have weapons and gear that you can buy with raid tokens. They will ensure a raid item drops at each major encounter. That way, we actually have a reason to go into the raid and actually get raid specific perks. Weapons and armor.
Maybe I get back into it, Dalan. Maybe we can finally beat it on hard. I have an incentive to beat it on hard now.
Yeah, we'd have an incentive to beat it on hard to get more of those raid gear drops. And then on top of that, when you beat the boss of either raid or any raid, I assume that's going to be coming out in the future, you will get a ghost with raid specific perks for beating the final boss. So we might have to beat that second raid. That what was it called?
I can't raid lair.
No, well,
whatever it's called, the raid lair, right?
Yeah, that new raid lair that we have. But quick note, just because it's an awesome thing to me, and I'm sure other people are just going to have fun with it, is they're going to now have the multi-function emote, being that instead of just being able to put your emote on the left button, you'll be able to switch all four.
Oh, okay, very exciting, very exciting. Yeah, so. One of the things, so that was it. That was kind of what they touched quite a bit, man. They were kind of teasing it, and they're updating the game. They're listening. They're getting it together. You know, it's really all about the rewards, right? We're playing so much of it. It's like, make sure, can I get these rewards in? You know, but the only thing that I will point out
for the Crucible.
Yeah, the only thing I will point out, of course, is that they still have that issue, man, where well, I don't know if it's an issue, but for me, it kind of is, because it's they're still doing raid lairs, right? So they kind of like, okay, this is what you're getting when you buy an expansion. This is what you're going to have just with the base game, no matter what. Because they had this whole backlash last time where like, what do you mean I'm locked out because I don't have the expansion? I can't do hard strikes. I can't do, hard whatever else, nightfalls, which happened in Destiny 1. So I don't know why people were tripping so much, but, whatever. But the thing on there that I saw was like, they said there's coming with the raid lair. So they don't say, they didn't even put raid/raid lair. They're like, nope, raid lair. That's what you're going to be getting with the next expansions. And we've talked about it before already, but, you have the different 4 nodes. So we're at least getting 3 more. I'm guessing when we get Destiny 3, then we'll get a full raid again, which is like, come on, man. It kind of goes back to
full raids anyway. By the way, Eater Worlds and Leviathan. I didn't remember.
Yeah. But I don't know. I hope going forward, and I think it goes back to, I believe we've talked about it before already, but it kind of goes back to my thinking. It's like, don't be afraid to make mistakes. It's okay if it's a broken raid. Crota was broken. These other, even the Taken King sort of was broken. And say, well, actually, no, that one was pretty well balanced. But it's okay for the raids to be broken. It's okay. I think they want it it's such a well-oiled machine that they're afraid to do a full raid and that people are going to exploit it day one. It's like, to me, it's like, it's fine. It's okay.
Let us fix it over time.
Let us exploit it. That was part of the fun, is exploiting it, man. As a community, we were figuring out how all this works, and we were exploiting it. But anyway, anything else, Dalan, before we move on to our next point here?
No, that was all. That was it for me. I do want to know, I saved you a lot of time on that one. Yeah, I was keeping it.
Oh, short. All right, thank you. Yeah, because I had to actually bring out the old adage, Dalan, that do not miss the forest for the trees. Do not get too nitty gritty in the details. I'm proud of you. So the next thing, we're gonna get into the details a little bit, but not too much, because the forest is still there. So the Overwatch League launched this week, and it's a big deal for a few different reasons. One of the main reasons is that it's kind of like it's following a traditional sports model, which I'm a fan of the NBA. A little less so of the NFL, but I like sports. I like watching sports. I like the whole idea of them. And I know the millennials or whoever, they're not really about them, which is understandable. They take a really long time to see. I understand. But so the Overwatch League is kind of taking a traditional sports model approach, which means they're going to have 12 teams. And they're also split up by division. So it's 12 teams, 6 and 6, Pacific versus Atlantic. So they're based, and yes, it's very USA centric because there's the Pacific and the Atlantic. There's 9 US teams. There's 1 England team or London team, UK team. There's 1 China team, and there's 1 from South Korea. And the Pacific or Atlantic is based on which coast you're closer to. So that's how they're splitting that up. The league is supposed to go January 10th to June 16th. So it's, it's about 6 months. You're going to get 6 months of sports. It's gonna be 40 total matches per team to determine the seeding once you go into the playoffs. So it's a little confusing how they're doing it, but basically it's 4 stages, and each stage is 10 matches. So one stage can go for 2 or 3 weeks or something like that. And up to, a team is going to play 40 matches in the regular season. They're going to play with 4 different match types. It's going to be escort, assault, hybrid, and control. And control is going to be used as a tiebreaker in case the teams are tied up in any of these matches, or whatever they call it, stage, whatever you want to call it. They're going to use control as a tiebreaker. They're also going to have an all-star weekend, kind of like the NBA. And I think the NFL does something similar, but it sucks because nobody wants to get hurt. But NBA definitely makes a big deal out of it. And they're doing it really in a cool way this time. They're kind of playground style, where they're picking the top players, like I'm picking you, then you're next, and you're next. But anyway, so they're going to have an all-star weekend type of thing too. And the winner of the entire thing is going to get a grand prize of $1 million. But now the cool thing here is that each player is going to have a minimum salary. So each player is going to have at the minimum $50,000 is what they're going to get paid. And they're on a year contract. And for us adults out there, it's very important, they're getting health insurance as well. So there's a lot of perks to be part of these different teams. And, they're all city-based. So I think you have 2 LA teams, or maybe 1 LA team, and a San Francisco, Dallas. I believe there's a Boston one, and a Philadelphia one. So
there were 2 LA teams. So they're actually split between East Coast and Atlantic, or excuse me, not East Coast.
And I think they have the LA, and I think they have 2 LA teams mainly because there's they're in Burbank, so they're playing all these games, which is funny that they're kind of having people fly in. And I guess these guys are here for the season, so they all live in Burbank or in the LA area or wherever they're at, and they play live. They have a studio where they're actually playing. And right now, the cool thing is there's already favorites, and maybe there's even underdogs, but the favorites right now seem to be the Dallas Fuel, Los Angeles Valiant, and Seoul Dynasty, which were undefeated in the preseason. So if you know sports, that kind of gives you an indication of like, all right, those guys are doing all right. But it's funny that Blizzard actually polled fans, and the thing that they're most excited about are team skins. So they're already, and that's, if you know sports, that's kind of, you see people in Lakers jerseys and Clippers jerseys and Eagles jerseys and Cowboys jerseys. So that's part of the thing. And it's already looking like the fans are going to kind of start taking it in that direction, where they want the skins of these different teams where they can pretend to play as their favorite players, right? So, and also since this is the inaugural season, there's already kind of what they call contender trials. So if you think you're good enough, you're able to, kind of get a team together and maybe see if, I don't know if they'll expand or if they'll just keep adding to these current teams yet, but, we'll see what they do. But there is a chance, this is the beginning stages to see if you're good enough to compete with them. And the other thing, just the last couple things, just to kind of bring it back to how it's still a traditional sports model is, similar to ESPN, CBS, and Fox, how they kind of own some broadcasting rights. For example, the NBA is on ESPN, NBA TV, and TNT. So they kind of have contracts where this is where the games are going to be shown. Twitch is the exclusive broadcaster of Overwatch League. So, and for the next 2 years, they paid about $90 million to be the official broadcasting, to get the broadcasting rights. So for the next 2 years, the only way you're going to be able to see this league is through Twitch. So it premiered on Wednesday, and it had about 360,000 people tuned in for the season opener. So it looks like they're off to a good start. But what do you think, Dalan? Are you going to start? Have you looked at it? Are you going to have a team? Do you care? What do you think about it?
I have looked at it. I myself am not going to really root for a specific team, even though I'm not a huge sports person. But man, Overwatch, when they released that game hit the ground running like real hard. So I was actually surprised to see that game to actually reach the status of esports so quickly when it did happen. Because when I first heard about the game, I didn't think it was going to be so big, because I know that there are other type of MMO shooter games. I can't a MOBA.
Well, this was not a, I was saying, this was not a MMO.
That was the wrong term. I know that there are other type of MOBA shooter games that had come out, but this was the only one that really got as much steam as it did, and had all these very detailed backgrounds for their characters, and people got into it. And then I guess they decided, hey, let's pay people to play this game, kind of like they did with Rocket League and League of Legends. and even Counter-Strike. So I guess creating these teams and really showing it to the rest of the world has actually gotten way more people into it, especially for those who like looking at these characters really beat each other up. So I think it's great that they're promoting a shooting game for a lot of people to see around the world. And I think the teams are 6 versus 6. I'm pretty sure that's the case because I know I played a little bit of the game, but I couldn't.
Yeah,
I could not bring myself
to me, it was more the structure, like the fact that they're going in this way. I believe it's 4v4. I believe. I don't know, or maybe it is.
No, I know there's four. There's 4 categories of types of characters that you can have.
Oh yeah. There's 4 types. Yeah, I believe there's 4 types. Yeah.
And then when you're well-rounded. But you have 4 types, and I think you could have 6 people per team fighting, duking it out against each other. And honestly, as I was actually watching it, I mean, it's one of those things that I could watch, but you got to really know what's happening when things are happening, because you don't know if when they're pushing forward that they're actually making a lot of progress, or at least for myself. I will admit I'm a noob when it comes to this game. I'm only actually just stating it as a fact of what I saw. But as playing the game and actually being in those type of arenas and watching you try and push forward for whatever modes that it may actually be. I know there's battle modes and things like that where it's just straight up kill each other. But watching for some of these modes to see them really try and contend over this land in this arena and trying to actually get objectives completed. I think it's great that they have people who are really good at it.
Yeah, that's that's the opinion over the game. But as far as the structure, you're not a really sports fan, right? So to me, it's fascinating that they're going this route with it, because other than that, it's kind of like teams all over the world, right? And they just happen to meet at Evo or whatever it is. But now the some of the interesting things in here is like these people have salaries. It's going to be a job, so it's no longer hope that you can win the pot at the end of the rainbow. It's like, no, you have a salary. This is a serious thing where you're on a 1-year contract. This is your job to be as good as possible. Basically, like an NBA player, an NFL player, or any other professional sports. It's like you have a salary, and if you win, that's icing on the cake. But really, this is your job. So 24/7, you should be focused on being the best you can be and entertaining people. So that's why this is, to me, it's more fascinating than the game itself. How about that?
But wait. Winning the game, as you said, it's not as much about winning the game. When they win this tournament, they get $1 million prize. I mean,
no, I get that. No, of course, and it's $1 million, that you win, but they're still getting paid for that season. It's like, unfortunately, sometimes it does make some sports a little stagnant, or some franchises stagnant. You see it in the NBA where, you see the 76ers talking about trust the process. So for 3-4 years, you tank and these people are still getting paid max dollars. So you kind of see that. So this is a good way to see, let's see if it works out, and I like the structure. I like the fact that it's a whole season. And then at the very end, you see it's like, all right, well, this is what it comes down to. And you get, it's $1 million, but in the meantime, people are getting paid. So it's actually changing. It's very significant in that sense, in that they're actually trying to make it work. Now, if it works in the traditional sense, or if they need to go back to a system where it's like nobody gets paid nothing, you only get paid if you ever win, maybe that works out, So I think this is a good thing for esports going forward, and for the legitimacy of kind of the sport, because a lot of sport is kind of, NBA, there's 82 games. NFL, has the least, maybe 16, 17 games or whatever. Baseball has like 160 games. So some of what makes these sports successful is that you can turn on your TV and there's a game on, So, but when you hear about Evo and that kind of thing, it's over like a weekend, right? Or it's over maybe a month or something like that. But with this one, they're making it a 6-month thing, so you can tune in regularly and expect to see games on there. So it builds up the popularity, builds up the legitimacy of it, and we'll see how it goes. Hopefully, it works out for them. But
all the way from January 10th until June 16th or something like that?
Yeah, June 16th, I believe. Yeah, so it's a good long season that they're gonna be playing. So I mean, you're paying players $60K or $50K or whatever minimum salary. You expect them to well, you better play a bunch of games then. So they're gonna play for every team is gonna play 40 games total. So we'll see. Hopefully, there's good competition. Maybe I even get into it.
Don't break your thumbs, Carlos. Don't break your thumbs.
Anyways, so then we'll probably do one more, Dalan, because we're going long. We're going about an hour now.
Right. But the last two that I have are really quick.
One more about Monster Hunter World, right? About Monster Hunter World.
I have Monster Hunter, and I also have Dreamcast. For
No,
Monster
that's
Hunter.
what I'm saying. This is the next last one.
All right, fine.
We'll talk to Dreamcast. You brought it up.
Monster
You brought it up already, so we will talk about it at this point. All right, go. What's going on with Monster Hunter?
All right, well, Monster Hunter for Monster Hunter World, they actually wanted to actually announce to people that it's not like a service. They're not doing the whole 10 years, let's keep adding stuff to the game type of thing. They're doing a full game with lots of free DLC and extra content that you can have, or extra quests that you can have when you post game, once you've actually beaten the game. The producer, Ryozo Sugimoto, he stated that we definitely don't plan this game to be a 5 or 10-year client. So the core of the gameplay was decidedly unchanged. I mean, the way that the game has been playing for years, I mean, it hasn't really been a large part of Western culture. It's mainly been Eastern, though the game has come out in the West, of course. And I think this is probably going to be the biggest launch for the Western Hemisphere for this particular game.
Yeah, it's a big push, right? So this is going to be a big push for
them. So with this, they're trying to actually get more Westerners into the game with better and easier tutorials so people can try to immerse themselves into the world. Now, with this game, because it is going to be their first launch towards major consoles like this, they delayed the PC version. I know there are some PC gamers that are a little upset about that, but they'll have to deal because another thing that Sugimoto was talking about.
Have to deal with it. Are you telling me the superior race has to deal with the delay, Dalan? Is that what you're telling me? Is that what you're telling me right now?
The superior race of computer players already has their own issues of having to upgrade the machines on a constant basis. But the fact being is that with the producer, again, Sugimoto, he explained as well that with this delay, they're just trying to make sure that with them doing it on the PC for the first time, that they basically want to get it right. So it's not like they're holding it back for any illegitimate reason. They're holding it back because they want to make it good for PC players, so that they don't actually ruin the brand new experience for them. So I hope
which isn't too big of a deal, really. If you're a PC gamer, this kind of happens regularly. You know, like you saw it with GTA, you see it with all the Capcom games, or you see it with all these different games that it's like, well, the PC version is going to take longer. Yeah, even with Destiny, it was about a month or two delay with that. So it's not a out of the norm type of thing, but it's good that they're, at least acknowledges like we want to make it a good version, because with the PC you're dealing with a lot of different configurations, right? So on the PS4 and Xbox, not to say that it's the easiest thing to develop for them, but you have one pre-configured set, right? You know what the CPU is, you know what the graphics unit is, everything about that box, basically. It's not going to change. You know how people are going to play. So on PC, that's what happens when you have so many variables. You got to make it compatible with so many different things. Right. Now, the key thing to this, though, was that, so it's funny that they came out and said it's not a service game. It's not like a service game. You know what they're saying, right? They're saying, this isn't Destiny 2. This isn't The Division. This isn't what's the next one that's coming out that we're kind of pumped about? Athena? No. What's the BioWare game? The multiplayer game. Jeremy, our friend Jeremy mentioned it the other day. Oh man, what is it called? Now I'm gonna. It's basically.
There are a couple of games like that, but they're coming out.
Yeah, it's the next BioWare game. It's probably the game that, instead of paying attention to Mass Effect, they were working on the next game to take down Destiny 2. So, but with Monster Hunter, it's kind of interesting for them to say so. But it is a co-op game, right? It's just maybe they're saying that it's not gonna be a live type of game where we're gonna give you constant updates. But they did say they're gonna do DLC over time and that kind of thing, but at some point they're gonna be like
content and when they're done.
Yeah, so just expect, at least they let you know that up front, right? It's like, look, we're gonna this game releases, enjoy as much as you can with your friends. This is not Destiny. We are not, do not get us mistaken. This is not Destiny. So you did mention one more thing, Dalan, and
I'll quickly throw that out there, being that I know I mentioned previously that Retrobit was doing things for Sega. Now they actually released these images, and I guess people were able to actually see them on display for the Dreamcast controllers that were actually rebuilt by Retrobit, which was pretty awesome. They're selling wireless ports for these controllers, and but they haven't actually announced any type of release for the Dreamcast itself. So I'm assuming that these controllers are going to be for people that already have a Dreamcast, and hopefully down the line that they actually do announce a legacy Dreamcast system that they might release or rebuild, kind of like the NES or SNES.
Well, as far as the images that I saw, it looked like it was like a Bluetooth type of connection, right? And it was USB. The Dreamcast didn't have a USB connection, so it's kind of weird. I think they expect you to use it as an emulator or something, or to have a legitimate...
the Dreamcast has a USB connection on the back, but
I don't think it does. I don't think it does. We'll have to verify this, but I don't think it does, Dalan. I've looked at that pretty unique, nice, compact system plenty of times. They didn't have a USB system.
You want me to
have a USB
grab my
plug-in.
Dreamcast and see if it has one?
No. I'm pretty sure it doesn't. I'm pretty sure it doesn't. I'm gonna, you know what? And the game I was thinking about is called Anthem, from BioWare. That's the game, Anthem. Good job, Dalan. Shit, gotten it off of Athena, man. Thanks for helping me out on that one.
I forgot about Anthem. I know that I've seen a couple of videos for it, but I haven't really delved into the thought of that.
Yeah, so retro, it's kind of interesting. I guess they got the blessing from Sega, right? So they can work on this kind of stuff. It looks like a legitimate system. And then I saw in one of the images, they just showed up a straight up VGA box on there. I was like, really? This is what you guys are doing? That you guys just ripped their design off? So we'll see. I think it seems like it's more for emulation, man. I mean, if you're gonna have Bluetooth or if you have wireless connections, it's kind of like, all right. I mean, they're testing the wire. I think maybe one of them, the wireless one, might work through Bluetooth, but that connects into the
wait, that little box the little box that was actually on there, the one that you said was USB, I think that might have been an HDMI converter, because I know
I didn't see an HDMI on it, man. I assumed, trust me, I zoomed in because I was gonna go buy a Dreamcast and like, look, is that it? Is that an HDMI thing?
No, because
I didn't see an HDMI plug on there.
Well, my friend Oscar, he has a converter box, though it's like see-through, so it doesn't look like that specifically. But what it is that you actually plug your Dreamcast into the box.
Yeah, that might be his. That might be his, Dalan. But in the retro bit, I didn't see an HDMI out on there. I looked. I zoomed in very closely.
You zoomed in real hard. Sure that little wire poking out of it. That's a USB. You're very sure of that?
Yeah, it was VGA. So yeah, but the Dreamcast, I doubt it has USB. Maybe I'm proven wrong. Maybe you can tell me this, but I'm pretty sure it didn't have USB because I don't think USB had been established during that time.
No, but it's not like things didn't have it.
No, I know that. I know the systems have everything.
I mean, PS2
at some point. Yeah, PS2 was in 01, and it was ahead of its time, and people bought it because it was a DVD player. So there's a lot of things that were ahead of its time for the PS2. It was a great system. It was incredible, and I bought a Dreamcast instead. But which I don't regret. I guess. Dan, we'll end it on this. Microsoft, I guess, has started to roll out a do not disturb status for gamers, where it quiets your notifications and lets your friends know that you're just not up for multiplayer at that time. Does Sony need to implement this on the PlayStation 4?
We already have the thing where it's appear offline.
No, it does. That's what I'm wondering. What the difference is? I was trying to see what the difference is with this.
Does Xbox have an appear offline function?
I guess. Maybe that's what it is. It didn't have appear offline, but this one quiets your notifications because even if you appear online, people can still bug you on PlayStation, right? Like you still get the notifications.
Generally, when they see your name is not online, nobody sent you anything. So
yeah, but they still might. Maybe the Xbox is like a specific. Do not mess with me. I am online. I don't want to hide myself. I'm just trying to let you know I am not willing to play multiplayer with you right now.
Well, I guess that being said, then yes, PlayStation needs to add that function. Because I know there are
sometimes you feel like that,
Yeah, it's like sometimes you're just like, all right, I feel like playing online, but I don't feel like working so hard to hide.
So for Salient Points number 17, I'm Carlos Macias, and along with my co-host
Dalan Kirkwood. You can find us on Twitter. You find me at _Zasha_, or we can play.
You can find me at a Do Say Clean. But yeah, Dalan, I mean, you stay offline because sometimes you want to play the Stick of Truth, or sometimes you want to play Fractured But Whole, and you want to be online. And do not invite me to Rocket League.
Play some Assassin's Creed Origins.
I'm just not trying to play Rocket League right now. Maybe with some other time. Maybe some other time we can play.
Wait,
Rocket League.
Pause. Are you done to play some Rocket League right now?
This is what I'm trying to tell you. This is why I need Do Not Disturb. But so we're going to a weekly thing. If you guys saw it at the top of the show, we're going back to a week, sort of a once a week thing. So we should be back Monday or Tuesday. All right, see you guys next time. Dan, I do not want to be disturbed.
I know you don't.